Hey everybody, welcome back to G-Dub's Point of View. I'm your host G-Dub. This is episode 5, I believe, so we've already made it to episode 5. Thank you for all the support recently on the videos. I know my G1 video is up to it's up to 120 views, which is pretty crazy considering how shortly I've been back. So thank you very much for that. And for all my fans of the G1 videos, you'll be very happy with this one because it is the G1 special review. Of course, the show just went down on Saturday the 7th. Recording this the morning of the 9th. I was not able to catch the show live. I was out of town. I did, however, catch the main event that night and then watch the rest of the show last night. So my point of view on some things might be a little different. Just because I wasn't able to actually watch it live and had the knowledge of what happened going into it, and so that kind of skewed everything a little bit. But we're just gonna jump right into it. So I thought the show was great. I think it was well needed. I know the crowd was a little disappointing. There wasn't as many tickets sold as they would have liked, but I thought the crowd was pretty hot all night, which is great, especially for an American crowd with a Japanese product. It's going to sound different. But I thought it was a good crowd for being maybe even a little small. So the first match was Chaos versus Bullet Club. You had Shoyo, Rocky, Gato, and Yoshihashi versus the Tongans and Takahashi and Chase, and then they brought in King Haku for a special match. Tama gets the pin on Gato. It was a fun match. Haku got his stuff in. Tama looked great. He brought out the face paint again, which is always nice to see. And so did Tongaroa. I don't know. It's I don't know. I think they only pulled out for special occasions, but so it's nice to see that they went full out for it. Of course, Chase is getting a little more fandom over here, so people were cheering for him pretty well, and Roppongi 3K had some good cheers for them, which is nice to hear. But of course, we obviously have more to talk about later with the Tongans. But I thought the match was good. It was a good opener. I think they've done really well with their American shows is to having good opening matches, because it lets the crowd know kind of what's going on for the rest of the show, but isn't too high pressure or anything. But it was a good 10-minute match. Nothing too serious, and Tama got the pin, which makes him look good, especially for what happened later on. Second match was Yano and Ishii against ZSJ and Suzuki. Really fun match. It was kind of interesting on Suzuki's entrance. Of course, the Kaze ni Nare yell. It didn't sound good on broadcast, but the commentators really, because I was watching the Japanese commentary, and they really commented on it. So I guess it was a good job, or I guess it was very surprisingly how loud it was. So good job to San Francisco for that. A surprising result with Yano getting the big roll up on ZSJ. I thought it was a fun match. Of course, you throw Ishii and Suzuki in there together, they're gonna tear it down. Which was really good to have in your second match. It was a quick 10-minute match, but it was they repeated some spots from their match last week over in England, but it was they pummeled each other, and even on the crowd mics were the arena mics were a little quiet. On the Japanese feed, you could hear some of those strikes come through, and man, that crowd they were listening to it. They were getting into it. So I thought it was good. Yano does his Yano things, and I thought it was a little there was a point there I think he got a little sloppy, but they recovered from it pretty well. And ZSJ, I don't think he's as over in America as he should be, and maybe it's just his style doesn't fit with the American mindset. Because it's very technical based, and which is a very British style, but so he wasn't getting. I think he had the least reaction in the entire match, which for a guy that challenged for the heavyweight title this year and is going to probably have a big G1 is kind of sad, but yeah, it happens. I think he was just hamming it up and trying to heal it up as best he could and get some reaction out of some people by flipping him off. So, but yeah, Yano got the surprise roll up on ZSJ, which kind of bodes well for, I think, one of my predictions for the G1 of Yano beating ZSJ, which I think could definitely happen, especially after seeing this. So it was a fun little match, and it's always good to see ZSJ and Suzuki team up because they're just deadly. Third match was Kushida and Tanahashi versus Squirrel and Hangman. Hangman got a really nice pop. I could tell. Marty's, of course, his people love him. But Hangman got a really nice pop during his entrance, which I think is the first time that's ever happened. So that was fun to see. And then, of course, he's Tanahashi's a legend. It was a fun little match, 10-minute match. Everyone got their stuff in. Squirrel, Paige got the matchup against Tanahashi a little bit as a little preview to their G1 match. This is a little bit of a surprising result because Paige got the pin on Kushida, and then Paige talked directly into the camera after the match as Kushida and Tanahashi are walking away, saying Tanahashi, this is you come our match in the G1, which I don't know if that's things to come because I think they see Paige as a big deal, and I mean they could really give him a win over Tanahashi. It wouldn't surprise me especially after this result. It wouldn't surprise me now to have Paige get a big, because every time there's a rookie in the G1, they always get a big win, at least one, and that could be Paige's. You could get a big win over Tanahashi because I don't think Tanahashi's coming close to reaching the finals, even though he is in the A block final, like on the final night, but I don't think he'll have enough points. So they could give Paige a big win and have him beat Tanahashi in the G1, and I think this is a good sign. It was a good match. Hangman's starting to look more and more like a star. Marty looks great, of course. Kushida actually had some good cheers for him, and looks like the Kushida of old a little bit. So it was fun. Taguchi's out there just to get hit for 2 minutes, and then Tanahashi's Tanahashi. So it was a fun little match. Fourth match was the open weight title with Goto beating Jeff Cobb. I was really looking forward to this match, and I don't think it lived up to what it could have been. Of course, they both looked good, but I think my main issue was actually the way the format of the match. 12 minutes I think was a little short. I would have liked them to go with like 15. Because it is a title match. I mean, 12-minute title match is that's not, especially for a singles title, that's pretty rough. That's not a whole lot of time to work with. And I think with having Goto go over, I would have liked to see Cobb got more offense in early. I think if they would have reversed roles, it would have had a better flow to the match. Having Goto really dominate Cobb early doesn't make sense. I know Goto's he's a big power guy, but he's nothing like Cobb. I mean, Cobb should come out, if they're both full energy, Cobb should have the advantage. And how Cobb got his one release, back suplex in, and then got beat up the rest of the first 7 minutes of the match, and then trying to make this fiery comeback, and then have Goto finally. I didn't think the flow worked. I would have rather seen Cobb, really put his big, throw suplexes and big power lifts early in the first 5 minutes and dominate, and then have Goto come back, and then a little switch of momentum where Cobb gets a little extra offense in. It looks like he's about to win, and then Goto pulls out the double GTR and pins him. I think that would have been a better flow to the match, but it still was fun. I mean, there was no way Cobb was winning, because he wasn't in the G1. They were not going to let him win if he wasn't in the G1, which I would love to see him in next year. Depends on his schedule, because I think he's done with Lucha. He'll be freed up from all his Lucha Underground stuff. I don't know I guarantee you someone over at NXT is looking at him, but I hope he doesn't go, just because I would love to see him in the G1 next year, but if it makes sense, it makes sense. So just enjoy him while we can and see what happens. These first 4 matches, though, because, it was starting a little slow, which I think is okay because New Japan cards are kind of like that. Throwing a title, obviously there's 5 title matches on the night. I mean, you had to throw something out there early. I think this was a good one to pick because considering how the rest of the night went title match wise, this was the right one to pick for early. All the matches were 12 minutes or less. Just a nice little opener, get people eased into the evening. And then, man, these last 5 matches, they kicked it up. This is where the card really started to come together. So you had the fifth match, which was the heavyweight tag team title match, which was the Young Bucks versus Sonata and Evil. Of course, Young Bucks went over after Meltzer driver onto Evil. This might be some of their best work together. I think it helps that with the American crowd being so in favor of the Bucks. It really allowed Evil and Sonata to kind of play a more heel role than they usually do because they are such fan favorites over in Japan. I think they worked well off that. Even Sonata, because Sonata he was a little more animated tonight or during that match than he usually is, because that's his thing. He's the truly tranquilo one of the group, is that he really just doesn't care about anything. But he's a little more animated, trying to get the crowd into it, and so that was nice to see. Get a little animated compared to usual. Evil looked good, but of course, the real stars of the show are the Young Bucks, who, of course, just the best tag team out there right now. They're just great and proved it again. Really solid match. 16 minutes is, it's a good length. I think it was about the right time. They probably could have gone a little longer. They put on longer matches before, but for this show and the spot they had, that's a perfect length. Everyone got their stuff in. Everyone looked really, really good. The good pageantry, everything. So they brought out the little chair spot and did the whole thing. So I don't have too much to say because it was a really good match. These guys have matched up a couple times now. Or is it 3 or 2? I think it's only 2. Yeah. But they've looked. And both matches were really good. They're really good. I think they're really good matches for the Bucks to prove that they are a heavyweight tag team, because they match up really well against Evil and Sonata, because they both have a unique style. With Sonata being more of the athletic high flyer like Nick is, and then having Evil be more of a power guy like Matt. They match up really well, and so it goes to prove that Matt and Nick can do the stuff they can as a heavyweight tag team. So I thought it was really good. Of course, there's a little 15-minute intermission, going off the hot tag match and going right into the hottest tag match of the evening, which was Will Ospreay and Okada versus Bushi and Naito, because everyone in America loves Okada and Naito. Just from the entrances, people were just unbelievably excited for this match, which was, it was fun because, I think the performers got into it. Okada just looks like a weirdo now, man. He's got the red and black pants. He's got the balloons. He's going full crackhead Okada mode, which is just fun to see. He's not allowed to do that very often. Especially, I think I saw a comment somewhere that said you're seeing a guy finally get relieved of a 2-year pressure of being the top champion in the company. And that's what you finally see it. He's smiling more. He's doing all these weird antics, and apparently he's a weird guy in general. So he's showing it a little bit in the ring. And the match was really good. 12-minute tag, really solid. There's a bunch of high points. Naito's doing all of his normal LIJ antics, and people are just eating it up. Okada got a little offense end, and then of course Ospreay hits the Stormbreaker at the end on Bushi and gets the pin. I think the real standout of the match, though, was Naito. He just got the most offense in, I think. He matched up really well against Okada. He actually had a lot more offense on Okada than usual. So I don't know if they're trying to still tell a story there. I don't know. I like Ospreay over Ibushi there because it allows the heavyweights to kind of just. It's their the Wrestle Kingdom 12 matchup, and having them not be a part of the result's probably good, because it doesn't wash away the Wrestle Kingdom feel. So yeah, I thought it was well done. The crowd was really into it. So it was a good warm-up match after intermission for the rest of the show, because the last 3 matches were all killer. Of course, it's a little tough to talk about the next one, which is, of course, the 7th match was the junior heavyweight title match of Takahashi and Dragon Lee. I, of course, watched this after hearing about Takahashi breaking his neck, and I'd seen the spot on like a GIF or something that night, and of course I immediately thought, like, Jesus, how does that safe? Well, it wasn't, because he goes to the back and has a broken neck. So I was really just kind of anxious watching the whole match, which I think took away from my enjoyment of it. Again, it's those guys are just, they're so good together. They've had so many matches together where they've done so well and done so many crazy things. Of course, Dragon Lee early shoots out like a rocket on that suicide dive, and Takahashi puts the trophy and Daryl over on the announcer's table. Then Dragon Lee does the over the top rope Hurricane Rana to the floor as soon as he gets back up on the apron. I mean, that's just a crazy way to start that match. And I mean, that if they wouldn't have had that botch there, this match might have been the best on the card, or at least second best. Well, no, I still think it would have been third best, but I think it stays at third best because of the botch. It's hard to tell watching the replay of the Phoenix, for those of you that haven't heard anything yet. Dragon Lee's finisher is a Phoenix Plex, which is something that Kota Ibushi does pretty frequently, or used to, where you put your guy in a powerbomb position and then you tuck their head underneath like yours and do a back suplex, and you're supposed to hold it for a bridge, and that way the guy that's taking it has absolutely no control of where his body lands, and you're supposed to hold it for the bridge because that way the guy lands on the top of his shoulders, which they've done numerous times before. I even saw something this morning of Dragon Lee beating Takahashi last year in the Best of Super Juniors with that exact move, and lands it safe, lands it right on the shoulders, and no problem. They've done it multiple times. I think they were trying to sell exhaustion with Dragon Lee. They had discussed this, so they went for a release Phoenix Plex. The only problem is he released him too late, and so Takahashi couldn't flip through all the way to land on even his neck. He could only land on the top of his head, and skidded across, he probably skidded a foot on the top of his head on a powerful suplex. Of course, that's where he breaks his neck. It was painful to watch. And looking at him, you can just see in his eyes immediately he's out. He has no idea what's going on. And it's just, it takes away from the match, which is, it's impressive. And as soon as, Dragon Lee gets him up, you can just tell that he's just way too loose with his movements. Nothing's crisp because he just has no idea where he is. The fact that he's still able to, counter a move and then hit a roll through Canadian Destroyer into his time bomb is really impressive. He's just running off pure adrenaline at that point. And to be able to walk it off, we all thought the same thing with Shibata, though, and Shibata walked it off and of course collapsed backstage and it was never the same. And of course that was the report that Takahashi collapsed backstage. But I just read something this morning that they took him to the hospital and everything, and he's able to sit up and talk coherently, which is a great sign because they thought Shibata was going to die for the first 2 weeks after he was hurt. So this is very, very good news. So I'm happy to see that it doesn't look like he's going to be suffering too much. Hopefully he just makes a full recovery and he's able to walk again. I don't even want to think about him wrestling again. He probably will, just because that nut job's going to have it out that being his goal to come back and wrestle. So we probably have not seen the last of Hiromu, which is good in the sense of being a fan of his, but I hope he tones down his style if he comes back, because we don't need to see this again. Again, it wasn't on it. The one move that got him hurt with his style was a move that he had no control of, so it's sad to see. And Dragon Lee probably feels terrible about it. They've done that move 100 times and never had a problem. It just so happened that they either didn't commit to the full Phoenix Plex and let him go during the bridge, or they went for a release version. He just didn't release him early enough. So it's just unfortunate that those things happen. The only problem with it is everyone's now taking this as a chance to attack New Japan. Well, I think some of it's warranted in the sense that there's been 3 life-threatening injuries here in 2 years with Honma going down on his head injuries. But if you actually watch the move, it's pretty, he was just going for a normal Kokeshi headbutt. He just hit the ropes, I think. I don't remember. It was like something really basic that he's done millions of times, and he just all of a sudden he couldn't move. Shibata, of course, was very preventable. That was just his style, and he wasn't going to have it either way. And Takahashi was something he couldn't control. And people are taking this as a chance to attack New Japan and their style of wrestling, which I think is unfair, and I think it's taking away from the talents of these guys and just even the well wishes of the performers. These guys know what they know what they're signing up for. They know what they're getting into. They understand that these are the risks. WWE guys are safer. Yeah, it's a safer style because they wrestle so much more. These guys are allowed to take these risks because they wrestle less, but they understand that these riskier moves are going to have a higher percentage of failure. It's just most of the time it doesn't happen. But yeah, to have 3 career life-threatening injuries in the past 2 years is pretty rough. But it looks like Honma's already back and wrestling, and it looks like Takahashi's is hopefully going to make a full recovery, and it's looking like positive signs for him. So, I just don't understand the fact that people are attacking this company and this style of wrestling, and not even thinking about the performers. They just instantly want to go to the company and the people that like and enjoy the company product. Anyway, that's me getting off my soapbox for a second. Of course, I mean, the finish of the match was good. Finally hitting the time bomb, getting the pin. I'm really interested. I don't know what they're going to do now with the Junior Championship because, Hiromu's out. I mean, there's no way they're going to have to vacate it. I don't know if they want to do like a tournament, if they want to do a match. I don't know who I'd want to see as Junior Champ right now. It's not going to be Dragon Lee. He doesn't have a full-time commitment to the company anyway, but I don't think they're going to want to give the belt to the guy that injured him. I don't know. They're probably going to set up another combination of Ospreay, Skrull, Kushida, and maybe Desperado or something, and have them fight over it, and probably give it to, I don't know, I'd give it to Kushida right now, just because he needs something. I think Skrull's fine. I think Ospreay's fine. Kushida needs a little boost and can have good matches, so I'd personally give it to Kushida, unless you really want to have like Desperado do something, or Bushi. That could be a really good move for Bushi as well, but I think any one of those 5 guys is probably a good spot. I completely forgot about Ishimori. You can have Ishimori as well, because he put on a killer match with Takahashi at Best of Super Juniors. If you could have Ishimori sneak in there and get it as well, I think he could, because he also has really nothing to do. He's been, first card on the last tour, or first match on the card. So, of course, well wishes to Takahashi. I hope he has a full recovery. And we'll be very interested to see how the junior title scene shakes out now that he's out for a while. 8th match was definitely rival for match of the night. Was the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship match, with what I called in my G1 prediction video of Juice finally getting the win and beating Jay White, becoming the 3rd US champion. Let's just talk about outfits here. I mean, Juice said he was going to come in with sparklers flying out of his nipples, and he came pretty close. I think it was in promotion with the sponsor, because he had some logo on the back that looked pretty familiar. But wow, I mean, he looked like a star. That's a way better look for him than actually his normal look. And Jay White actually got an improvement on his wardrobe. I didn't like the Thriller jacket. And the bright red gloves. I thought the pants were great though. The pants look good. It's playing perfectly off of what he was doing in the match, which is being this killer essentially. It sucks that the last match of Jay White's reign was his best. I think it sucks in a way because you didn't get to enjoy him as champion being that good the whole time. I think it's good because it shows improvement. Because compare this to the Tanahashi match at Wrestle Kingdom, this is so much better. I think he's finally found a spot that works for him, character-wise and match-wise. His skill alone in the past 6 months has improved greatly. Actually, 7 months at this point. No, 6. And he finally has settled into the I'm gonna be the big heel. I'm gonna be just a complete dickhead, and I love it. Of course, it's hard to they're doing all the big throwing. I mean, he's making Juice kick up sparks by throwing him into a guardrail. I mean, he's going full out. It's hard to tell. Of course, the famous spot right now, or the infamous spot right now, is Jay doing the flip suplex into the announce table, or the guardrail right by the announce table, and knock JR over. Then Barnett, comes out and gets in the ring and tries to confront Jay White. Of course, Jay White played it perfectly because we still don't know if it was a work or not. If it was, that's the perfect way to play it. Of Jay White being the little chicken shit heel. Of anytime there's confrontation by someone else, he's running away. If it wasn't, that's still the best way to approach it, because Barnett's a retired MMA fighter. I mean, I know Jay's a tough guy, and Barnett was out for blood there after knocking JR over. That's the best way to approach it. Just don't confront the guy. But it worked very, very well with what the story they were trying to tell of Juice being the massive, massive underdog, has the broken hand, can't use the cast, otherwise he could be disqualified. Jay just constantly talking shit after every offensive move, pissing the commentators off. It really set up well for the result of Juice getting the big pin. I was worried. I even knew the result, and I still was worried whenever Juice hit Pulp Friction, and Jay had the best kick out I've ever seen out of him. And, of course, the crowd's just instantly deflated because they're like, oh god, he's not going to win now. And then he counters the Blade Runner at the very end into the bridged roll-up, which I thought was a great move. The roll-up and then to flip over and bridge it. I don't think I've seen that, and it was really well done because in kayfabe it looks like it really would be hard to kick out of that. And I think this is the perfect time to get the belt off of Jay. You go right into the G1. He's found his character, clearly. He was completely fine with playing the absolute asshole, which was perfect. I think he's so good at it, even though he looks like a kid. That's such a good role for him. People naturally don't want to like him. As you can tell by the crowd, they were such big favorites of Juice that they started booing Jay, even though I think he's a really good talent, but he really played into it heavy, and was doing like the juice fist pump with flipping people off at the same time. I thought it was perfect. Like, it just shows me, I'm like, okay, he's in touch with what he needs to be doing. I don't have enough good words to say about the match. Juice deservedly so is the champion. And he's just been so hot. I'm gonna look here in a bit. I'll look at the G1 blocks and really see what this means for the G1. Especially with the little character turn of Jay. He was kind of riding that tweener line like Chaos does, and now he's complete full heel douchebag. Compared to the rest of the group that kind of is still tweener, and Okada's really leaning towards babyface. I think that really sets up something interesting for the G1. And then Juice as the champ, I think, is just a great call. He is now the second best champion already. He's the second best U.S. champion behind Kenny. I think just his win alone is enough to put him over Jay because of the big underdog story that they're telling. The guy, even the post-credit or the post-match interview, put over a roll-up saying, do I feel bad or why I went with a roll-up because all my heroes rolled people up. Like, he put a roll-up over. The guy's putting out the best promos on the planet right now. He has improved so much in the ring. They did such a great job with the story of the past month on a tour. I mean, nothing. Building this match with the whole broken hand angle. Tons of credit to these two for being two young guys that needed something to prove, and they pulled out one hell of a match and one hell of a story. And Juice is the champion like he should be. That he has earned for sure. Of course, main event of the night, the heavyweight title match between Kenny and Cody. Personally, after seeing most of Cody's stuff for the past 2 years he's been on the indies, this was his best match. I really enjoyed his Okada match last year, but I think he hadn't found the right balance yet of character and in-ring work last year. He really went over the top with the character and really playing into, you know, the fact that the American crowd didn't like him. This year was a lot better. He had a lot more to prove to himself and to the people that doubted him that he could work in the ring, that he did a lot more in the ring work while still being the big time heel in the match. He dyed his hair back to the normal color, which I think was actually a total heel move. Obviously, he's doing it for an acting gig that he's doing, but it was a total heel move because people started to love the blonde hair, so immediately cutting it off, it makes you want to hate him more. Kenny's coming in as the big baby face. I don't have enough to say about this match. I think it plays really well into their relationship as well, the feud that had been building. To bring out the little weapon spots. I think that plays into Cody's strengths because he's so used to it throughout his tenure at WWE, doing all kinds of weird matches and having the weapons that a lot of people, especially like New Japan guys, don't have that experience doing. I think it really played to their strengths. The crowd was super into it. I thought it just was a beautiful story. 35 minutes is plenty. The match didn't even hardly feel that long. And Kenny retains, of course. Great move. I think that was going to happen, and I'm glad that they didn't decide to swerve everybody for the sake of swerving. But I do think it was his best match. I think it's his best match. Well, he had a really good stretch last year where between the Best in the World match with Christopher Daniels winning the ROH title and then the next week fighting Okada. Actually, I'm not even sure it was the next week. Yeah, it was. I don't think this is his best match since then. Well, yeah, I think it is. This is better than the Ibushi match, even though the Ibushi match at Wrestle Kingdom was great. I think this was better. Of course, it helps that they had such a good story to tell. With, the big rivalry building, and they had so much more to play with than they did with, like, Okada. Then I think it really benefited to the match. Of course, Kenny gets the pin. You know, they're all celebrating. Cody's in the back. Kenny and the Bucks go up to the ramp, and the big closer of the night with having the Tongans and King Haku come out and attack Kenny and the Bucks and beat up the rest of Bullet Club. I've been looking forward to this move for a while. Tama's deserved the spotlight. And I think this was the right way to go about it. I do think it was a little long. I think it was a little dragged out than it needed to be. I think part of it's because Haku just can't move that fast anymore. And he wasn't necessary to go out there, but I think it was okay that he was out there considering he's their dad. Or I think it's their dad. But having the splinter group of firing squad be kind of the name of the OG group, I think is good. They have good branding. Cody, of course, coming out and Thomas standing on Kenny and offering Cody the chair, and then Cody turning on Tama and hitting him. And I think it was set up a little strange because it looked like Cody hit Tama and then Loa and then was gonna hit Kenny. I think that spot would have been done better if he hit Tama and then hit Loa in the stomach and then went to do the overhead shot on his back and then Haku grabs it, because it just looks like he's going to hit Kenny. Of course, that's obviously not what ends up happening. So they beat him up and then they leave, and then Cody helps Kenny up and they hug it out, and the Bullet Club, the regular Bullet Club is fine and reunited. I think it was a great ending to the Kenny and Cody story. Have them be tied in matches with Kenny winning the big one, of course, being the title match. Show that they're equals. Kenny might be slightly better, but they're equals. They're both alphas, but that they respect each other. I think it's a great way to tell it. Now Cody gets his time off to go do his acting stuff, and Kenny rides right into the G1. It'll be, I don't know. I really enjoyed that ending. Of course, there's the thing now on Twitter where they're tying it into Being the Elite because Nick, at the end of the last Being the Elite episode, said something bad's going to happen with his little prediction eyes, and then they cut to a picture of at the top of the ramp. You can see Tama and Tonga in the background, and Kenny and the Bucks are right there, and you can see that Nick's doing the eye roll thing, like he's seeing the vision right before they get attacked. I thought that was perfect. I'm just really curious to see where this goes from here. I think it was the perfect ending to this show. Thought the show overall was phenomenal. I think it was a better overall show than Long Beach this year. Of course, I don't think the main event was as good, even though it was the big singles match. You know, the big rivalry. It wasn't as good as Young Bucks Golden Lovers. It just wasn't. Nothing was gonna beat that, which saved that show. But the U.S. title match was leaps and bounds better. But then they also had a junior title match and a tag team title match and an open weight. I mean, this was probably their best card since probably the second U.S. show wise, probably since the second night last year. Maybe even the first night, because the first night had all the first round stuff that was good, and then the big Okada Cody match. I really thought this was just a perfect show. Of course, they're coming back in September, the end of September. They're coming back to Long Beach, Walter Pyramid, which is a big. I'm curious to see. It's basically a Road 2 show. What was it called? Fighting or Strong Style Unleashed or something like that. Fighting Spirit Unleashed. But it's a Road 2 show for King of Pro Wrestling. I don't know what they're going to give you at the show. The main event's going to be a secondary title match. Could they bring back... It's very possible they could bring back Jericho. And have him be the main event. And maybe drop the IC title. Or not. Because Kenny's going to be in a tag match with whoever he's fighting at King of Pro Wrestling. And then whoever's tagging against whoever, the G1 winner against whoever they're probably defending the briefcase against at the King of Pro Wrestling. So it's probably going to be Okada, but we don't know that for sure. But yeah, let me pull up the G1 blocks really quick, and we'll see how this is going to shape up real quick. Let's see here. Okay, so we look at who the title holders are now. In the B block, you have Kenny's wow, that's a pretty stacked block. Kenny's the heavyweight champ. Of course, I think he loses. It's gonna be different now, because after the events of the main event and Tama being this new leader of the Splinter faction with potentially Fale involved, I might change my prediction. I was at first, I was set on, all right, Omega's losing to Naito, he's losing to Ibushi, not making the finals, and then he has the King of Pro Wrestling match with Naito. That might not be set in stone. If they don't think Naito shouldn't main event Wrestle Kingdom 13 this year, then instead of him losing to Naito, he could lose to Tama. I think it would be a really good twist if you don't want Naito main eventing Wrestle Kingdom. If you think if you want Omega Okada 5 at Wrestle Kingdom, then you have Omega, instead of losing to Naito, he loses to Tama. And they have that match at King of Pro Wrestling. That'd be a big deal, especially for Tama, because he's never had that spot. I still have him losing to Ibushi, of course, and Ibushi going to the finals, but I think those are going to be your two big matches to look for. Because the rematch of Omega and Naito is night one of that block. If Naito doesn't win, expect Tama to beat Kenny, and get that big King of Pro Wrestling spot. Of course, Juice now is U.S. champ. He's got a lot of. He's going to have more wins than I probably had him predicted at. Now that he's just the champ, I could see him losing to Ishii now. I don't think it will happen, because I see Ishii with a different road. But he was in the finals of the U.S. tournament, so they see Ishii as a potential contender for that belt. You could have him lose. I don't know. The belt's in a weird place because it's only been won by foreigners, and I don't know if they're going to keep it that way. If you don't, then I think losing to Ishii would be fine. If you want to lose, keep it a foreigner belt, then the only matches are Kenny, Tama, and ZSJ. That potentially, I think Kenny wins just because it's the heavyweight champ against the U.S. champ, and I don't think they're going to have Juice get a win over the heavyweight champ like that. And Kenny's obviously not going to take a U.S. title match. So then he might lose to Tama, which could be good. The only thing is that'd be such a short reign for Juice, because I feel like if he lost to Tama, they'd give him that match, and then they'd have, with how hot this angle they're doing for Tama is, they'd give Tama the belt. And so Juice's reign will only be like 1 or 2 months, which hasn't been the formula so far for the U.S. title. And then ZSJ, they could do that. They could have ZSJ beat Juice and do a road to show like they did last year with ZSJ, getting the win over Tanahashi, and getting that IC title match at a Destruction show. They could do the same thing this year with Juice losing to ZSJ and then having that match at a Destruction show. It's in a weird spot now, because the belt's so stacked, or the block is so stacked now with champions. Because you have those two, and then you also have Goto, who's the open weight champ. I see that Ishii beats Goto, and they have that match. Of course, they could also do a Tama win and have. I think Tama's going to have a title match at either a Destruction show or King of Pro Wrestling. He's going to. It's just, there's no way you build this angle like this and not have him have a title match. It's just hard to see them not giving him something. So he's going to beat either Juice, Kenny, or Goto. I would prefer him to beat Kenny if you don't want Naito anywhere near the main event. But if not, you have him beat Juice and get that match. But I mean, Goto could also lose to someone like Ibushi. And you could have Goto Ibushi as a match. Sonata, give Sonata another big singles title match. ZSJ, because ZSJ kind of would exemplify the open weight style of being, kind of ambiguous weight class, but having the strong style technical wrestling. And of course, he said that he wants a title match with Shibata. I don't know if Shibata's coming back at all, because he's doing all the training out in the LA dojo. So we'll just see. But that block's gonna be very interesting match wise to see what kind of matches come out of there. So I don't know. It'll be fun to see. The A block, it's everyone that doesn't have a title. I mean, Tanahashi, Okada, Makabe, White, because White's now lost his title. Elgin, Yoshihashi, Fale, Page, Evil, and Suzuki. No one has a belt. After the events of what happened tonight, or at the show, at the G1 special, I could definitely now. I predicted it in my little predictions on the Reddit. I could definitely now see Jay beating Okada. They have this now super clash of personalities where Okada's just kind of this weird baby face trying to get his mojo back after losing his title, and Jay's now this over the top aggressive heel. I could definitely see Jay pulling out some antics and beating Okada now, especially with the big jump into that pool. Now just losing his title, there's no need for any focus on who he needs to lose to. I think Jay is going to beat Okada. And now, after what happened, I think Page beats Tanahashi. I think Okada beats Page. I think it's a good match, but I think Okada wins. But I think Page will beat Tanahashi. I still think that block's just pretty easy to look at, because no one has a title match. No one gets a title match by beating anybody. It's all just about making a statement. So I still think Okada wins the block. But there's nothing really... That's the only thing, is that nothing really comes out of it now. Usually there's at least one story coming out of every block of okay, there's a title match coming out of this block and one coming out of this block for the Destruction shows, and then the big heavyweight title. There's nothing out of A block this year, except a briefcase match maybe, which I think is what will come down. I think it's almost a bigger sign that Okada will win, because someone out of A block is probably going to win the briefcase, just to give a match up for the briefcase out of the A block. It could be the Jay White match. Would love it. Could be a Suzuki match, something like that. Could be a Tanahashi match again. So I think King of Pro Wrestling is going to have Okada defending the briefcase against probably Suzuki, Jay, or Tanahashi. I would love it to be Jay. Especially give Jay a spot like that, with the way he's been performing now with his character, be perfect. I think that would be the right spot to have Jay in. So yeah, I think that's the full review. So thank you guys who made it to this point. Thank you so much for watching. It was fun. I really enjoyed the show. There's some really interesting stories coming on the G1, which of course starts this weekend, Saturday morning. G1 starts up. I'm very excited for it, so hopefully I'll be able to pump out those shows as much as I can. They all will be titled right, so whenever I put them out, hopefully the next day, but I have school starting up, so I might not be able to get them out immediately. I'll try to just get them up as fast as I can. I'm really looking forward to this year, and there's a lot of interesting stories to tell now. The B Block nights are going to be insane. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which will be covering night 1 of the G1.